I moved to another country where I didn't speak the language. I didn't have a job. I was doing dishes, cleaning toilets. I promised myself, I said, I'm just going to go back to engineering now because I don't want to work in hospitality jobs anymore.
How humbling did it have to be, you having an engineering degree, having to do all those jobs? You got to be thankful to that Mexican guy playing reggaeton on top of you, pushing you over the edge.
What's up, guys? Welcome to another video. And today's guest has an amazing story. His name is Gabriel Ribeiro. He's a structural engineer originally from Brazil, was an engineer over there and left Brazil to go to Australia and start from the bottom. He started washing dishes, he started cleaning toilets, and worked his way up to get to where he is today. Now, the story is not only amazing, but also what's amazing is the way that he went about finding jobs and adapting to a new country. And of course, he's going to give his best tips to young engineers who are entering industry, who are just graduating, so that you can make the best experience for yourself. After this episode, guys, I'm telling you, there really is no excuse to not get jobs as a young engineer, as Gabriel is going to show us his way of doing it. So with all that being said, make sure that you like this video. If you find it useful, might as well just like it right now. Help YouTube promote it so that we can reach more young audience and to help more young engineers like yourselves. And hey, if you're an immigrant young engineer, then this video is going to hit home even harder. So with all that being said, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and let's get right into it.
We were talking about PE licenses, right? Professional engineering licenses here in the US. You mentioned that Australia has something different, equivalent?
Yeah, we've got the registered professional engineer. So I live in Queensland.
Yeah.
There's a qualification called RPQ. If you want to be the technical responsible for the project, you got to have this qualification.
Yeah. And
you only get that after you have worked a certain number of years and you have some points with the Australian engineer. You've got there's a lot of requirements to get this this
certification.
The certification, exactly.
Got it, yeah.
Some states are different. If you move to New South Wales, where Sydney, for example, you might not need that. You just get your diploma certified by the Engineers Australia. Because if you studied, let's say I studied in Brazil, what do they know about Brazilian Brazilian engineering? You know what I mean? So you got to come here and you got to validate your diploma with the Engineers Australia. Engineers Australia is an organization here that looks after all the engineers. So that's pretty much it. So it varies from state to state.
Yeah.
If you want to be responsible for the project, you got to look at the legislation on your state and make sure you meet all the requirements.
Gotcha.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah, here in the United States for the P, I'm not sure. I'm sure it's a similar process if you study. So I'm from Peru, and if you come from Peru and then let's say you're an engineer, I don't know the process exactly, what you go through to get your, I'm sure you're going to have to translate it. I'm not sure you have to take tests or anything like that. That's why I was saying that if I went to Australia, I mean, I would love to know that information. And then it seems like you know all that stuff. There is so I was telling you about my friend, Mo. He's a professional engineer. When I talked to him for the first time last year, he wasn't yet. So at that time, he was doing a lot of side hustles, doing a lot of CAD work for the professional engineers. So he had already built a network in construction management. People knew him, and he started doing a lot of CAD work on the side for a bunch of professional engineers, doing what would you call like drawings and things like that, right? And I mean, he told me that, he's like, I'm doing very well. If you ever need work, like doing some CAD work, just let me know. I'll have a lot of professional engineers, friends that they give me work, and that, I mean, you make basically another small salary. That's a lot. That's definitely an opportunity that you can take advantage of, I mean, because you're good at CAD, and like the whole simulating and modeling. That's why I was saying about consulting. If you ever thought about that.
I thought about that. I thought about building my own company, creating my own business.
Yeah.
when it comes to engineering, it's something that you got to be really, really careful about, because you're dealing with people's dreams and people's lives. And I'm only 30 years old, and I don't want to really go on this adventure right now and doing things by myself. You know what I mean? Like, I'm really confident on designing structures.
Yeah.
But there's a lot into building your own company. You know what I mean? What I think is one day I'm gonna start slowly. I'm just, I'm gonna get one client. Can you design this house? And I'll design the house, and then that client, is gonna refer me to another person, maybe a friend, and then I'll get another client, and things slowly will progressing. At the moment, I want a side hustle that firstly doesn't require me to spend more time, because I already work 40 hours a week. So I want to develop a product that can work for itself,
like passive income, basically.
Exactly. Passive income requires requires a lot of input in the beginning, but that's pretty much it. But the goal is building my own company. Do you plan on building your own company? Or
not for engineering? And to be honest, I've been away from the technical, like hardcore technical work the mechanical engineers do. I've been away from that for the last, I want to say maybe 4 years. I've been kind of like going up the chain a little bit, and it's more of a project management. It's been more of a risk management, things along those lines that are more project related, like schedule, cost, what can go wrong, how can we fix it, things like that, as opposed to more running the project or the design, as opposed to doing the design itself. So I moved away from that. Last time I did research and development I left my job in 2018. Yeah. So I did that for 3 years. And before that, I was doing, installations, removals of equipment, dealing with AutoCAD mechanical. Also was doing, logistics, doing, lube oil, lubricant analysis, like dealing with chemical compositions and doing maintenance on ships. So I'm kind of like more steered away from that, and I like it better, to be honest. It's a different side.
So what do you do nowadays?
So nowadays, actually, I do risk management, which is completely unrelated. I deal with a lot of the engineers, a lot of the mechanical guys, the electrical guys, dealing with batteries and generators and turbines. But I'm more on the side of. Do you know what risk management is at all? Have you heard of it?
Yeah, I have an idea. I have an idea.
Yeah, so you basically look at the development, the whole schedule, the whole design process, and then you say, okay, what can go wrong? What's a risk? What's at risk? And somebody comes back and says, you know what? The generator right now, I don't think we're going to have that part made in time. And so the risk manager says, okay, what's it going to take? Why is the part not going to come here on time? And you start digging into, okay, well, there's no material. The manufacturer doesn't have enough time. There's long lead time material. So you start going into those layers on finding out why that part can't make it. And then you start thinking of ideas and plans. Okay, how can we actually make the deadline? So you start dealing with a lot with the engineers and asking questions. So it's very schedule based, that in cost, because obviously, like the longer it takes, then the more costly it becomes. Things get delayed. So the whole point of risk management is to keep the project on schedule within budget. That's the whole point of it, and meeting the milestones. And so that's basically what I do. Yeah, definitely.
Like a project manager.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
You work
with the project manager very, very closely. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, so how about you, man? How do you get started in engineering? Why did you become a civil engineer, structural? Do you go in Brazil?
Yeah, I did university in Brazil. It was a bit random because all my family is from the Air Force. So it was either, in my mind, I would either become a pilot for the Air Force, or I would, go to university. That was pretty much back then. That's what I had in mind. And I was good at maths. I was good at physics. Yeah. So, like what profession I'm gonna choose, maths, physics. Okay, engineering. Which engineering? I had no idea. Mechanical engineering, civil engineering.
Right.
Okay. Those back then, civil engineering, mechanical engineering, and electrical engineer was the three ones that I had in mind, the most popular ones. And so what I did, I took a test for different universities and different engineerings. Okay. So in Brazil, if you go for a public university, you don't need to pay for your studies. So it's everything free. And they're the best universities. So I tried the federal universities because they were free and they were the best ones. So what I did, I tried mechanical engineering in one university in one place. And then I tried civil engineering in another place. I took the test, right? I took the test to get into the university because it's a very competitive test. Yeah. Because it's free, right? It's free university, so everybody wants to get into those universities. And I ended up passing for civil engineering in a city that was 600 km away from my city. And I passed for mechanical engineering in a university in my own city. But back then I was 17 years old and I wasn't much concerned about engineering, to be honest. The only thing, I'll be very honest with you, what I wanted is to have a good time at university. Right? But if I did mechanical engineering, I would stay living with my parents in my own city. Or if I did civil engineering, I would be 600 km away from them.
Oh, that's hilarious.
And that's how I chose civil engineering. I moved to another state. I moved to another city. 17 years old, living by myself.
Living the life.
Living the dream.
Oh, wow. That's awesome, man. What's the name of the Brazilian university you got into?
Federal University of Ouro Preto. So it's the name of the city. It's the name of the city. I mean, if you're not Brazilian, it's a bit hard to...
How about, give me a point of reference. How far is that from the coast? From Rio, let's say. That's everyone knows Rio. How far is that from Rio? Is it like deep in the center of Brazil, like in that area?
No, it's
Curitiba?
It's north.
Curitiba
is south. Yeah, maybe 300 km from São Paulo or Rio.
Got it. Yeah, I have
300, 400.
I have a friend who recently went to Brazil to do his he's originally from Brazil, then he came here to the United States, and then he's doing his master's degree in computer science, but he's doing it online. So he went back to Brazil to just finish it over there. And so really, really smart guy to do a master's in computer science. So you mentioned, so how did you go to Australia? How did you end up there?
I used to work in a multinational corporation, and it was a multinational corporation with over 4,000 employees all around the world, right? We used to get managers and engineers coming from Europe and visit the company, visit the factory and everything. Yeah. That was my first job. Well, I was a graduate engineer. And those guys, they obviously didn't speak Portuguese. So the only ones who could communicate with them in the company were the people who spoke English back then, right? Not that I had to communicate with them because I was only a graduate engineer, like I was a grad. It wasn't my job to...
Was it like your first year? First year?
It was my first year, exactly, yeah. It was my first year after graduating. And there was something that led me really frustrated, like you can't talk to someone. And I soon realized that if I wanted to move up in my career, English would be indispensable. If you're working on a multinational corporation, you can just tell that you gotta liaise with people from another country. A company that has 4,000 people around the world, and your company has only maybe 100 people. So that means the other 3,900 people don't speak their language. So how are you going to talk to them? You know what I mean? That was one of the reasons. And And Australia, it was more like a dream, you know, something. You know, when you're young and you want to live abroad.
Yeah.
There was also something that you know that made me want to live abroad. You know, when I was at high school, I had friends who did part of their high school in Canada or Ireland, and I didn't have any financial condition back then to do that. And so fortunately, you know, after working a year as an engineer, I managed to save up money and do this travel, you know, go on this journey. So that was pretty much it.
So did you get promoted in the multinational company, or you saw a position that was open in Australia and they were like, I'm applying to that, I'm going there? Like how did you transfer? Is it the same company still?
No, it's not the same company. I had to leave the company. Yeah. I stayed there only for a year. So I worked there for a year. Throughout this year, just saving money. The company would give me accommodation. They would give me food. They would give me, you know, my salary.
Yeah.
So I wasn't spending money with anything.
Wow.
Yeah. And there was a year just saving up money. No, less than a year. I think it was 10 months. And with 10 months, I was able to save up money to pay for an English course in Australia. I paid for 6 months English course in advance. I paid for a couple of weeks of accommodation, and I paid for my tickets to Australia. That was pretty much it. And then when I got here, I had to find work, and you know.
Yeah. You went to the whole. You were like, Brazil, I'm out. How are engineers get paid well in Brazil?
They do, man. They do get paid well. Yeah. I was on a very good pay, even as a graduate engineer. The thing is, in Brazil, there's a huge disparity, social disparity, you know. So if you're not an engineer, if you're not a lawyer, if you're not a doctor, you pretty much, you know, you're not gonna live a very very good life, to be honest.
Yeah.
While in Australia, this doesn't happen. You can work as a labor in construction, and you're gonna get paid as well as the engineer who designed the building that the labor is working on. You know what I mean? But the salaries they're very comparable. The thing is, your buying power in Australia is way higher than your buying power in Brazil. Let's say I get 5,000 money here in Australia, and I get 5,000 money in Brazil. You know, regardless of the currency. Yeah. If I want to buy a car here, I'm gonna pay 10 times less than what I would pay in Brazil. Even though my salary would be the same, I would have to spend way more over there. Right. Do you know what I mean? So that's the correlation that I do when I try to compare. Compare, exactly. Yeah.
Wow. So how was your transition to Australia? So when you first arrived, did you miss Brazil at all, or you were just like, I'm just glad I'm out, and then time for a new beginning? And how do you adapt to a new culture? And were you here by yourself too?
Yeah. I came by myself. I'm not gonna lie, it was super hard. It was a challenge. Imagine moving to. I mean, are you from Peru? Or are you from?
Yeah, I'm from Peru. Yeah? I came here when I was 16 years old, and I came here with. So my parents were already here, so it's I have family already here, and so that transition. It was still a little difficult because I had left my ex-girlfriend, obviously, my friends, I have family in Peru, and then I was living with my aunt back then. So you basically are leaving a culture, traditions, a whole new different lifestyle, and then you come here, right? So it's like a different like culture shift and mindset. It's like very different. But yeah, I have family, fortunately.
Yeah, exactly. So you pretty much, you know what I'm saying, but I moved to another country where I didn't speak the language, I didn't have a job, I didn't have experience. As I said, I had worked only for
1 year.
not even a year. Yeah, it was 10 months in a company.
Yeah.
And what I'm going to do here? I had money for 3 weeks. After 3 weeks, I would have to start working.
Yeah.
1 month. I think it was 1 month. Yeah, after a month, I would have to start working. And it was all right because I got a job in my second week here. That was mowing lawn.
Yeah.
It wasn't anything in engineering, man. It took me a while. We can get into that later, but it took me a while to get a job in engineering, as an engineer. And I started mowing the lawn with a guy.
Yeah. How do you meet this guy? So walk me through. So Gabriel arrives in Australia. What's the first thing you do?
Yeah. Get lost. You get lost.
What do you do, bro?
Yeah. I don't know, man. I remember I was in the airport. I remember I was in the airport and I didn't know how to talk to anyone. I was like, what am I doing? I only had my student exchange student agency, and they would text me, just go to this place, take a bus, and I'll meet you at this place. And that was pretty much it. So I had my agenda of the things that I needed to do.
Yeah.
And I got to the airport. I took the train and I was just like, how do I make the train stop? I was like, I need to get up here. I started asking people, where do I press here to stop?
Yeah.
I was just like, and there was a Brazilian dude.
Oh, really?
Brazilian dude there. There was a Brazilian dude in the train, and he told me, no, don't worry, it's gonna stop in every train station. So you don't freak. And I was just like, okay, cool. And that was pretty much it. And I had an accommodation paid for 2 weeks with this student agency. After a month, I had to get a job. I remember my first after this guy where I started my first job mowing the lawn. It didn't last a week because he wasn't patient enough. I couldn't understand him, and he was getting so mad,
frustrated. Yeah.
I was so frustrated. Yeah, he wasn't patient enough, and I decided to leave. My other job, that was the happiest day of my life, man. I got a job. That was when I got a job at Domino's Pizza.
At Domino's?
Domino's Pizza, delivering pizzas.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to my English school. I was in the train. I was on the train going to my English school. I got a call from the manager at Domino's Pizza. And he called me and he said, "Oh, I saw that you applied online for a position at Domino's Pizza. Do you want to come for an interview on this day?" And I was just like, yeah, sure. And then I was like, which day is that, man? He said Thursday or Tuesday.
Yeah.
But back then, I didn't know the difference between Thursday and Tuesday. Yeah, they're pretty similar. And I was like, what am I going to do now?
Yeah.
And then I went to school. I was so anxious. I went to school. After I finished school, I went to the Domino's Pizza.
Yeah.
Right? I stopped there. And then I talked to the manager. I said, "Hey, I was just walking past here. I got a call from one of you guys. I just want to confirm or just want to double check the day of the interview." And then he said, "Oh yeah, it's gonna be tomorrow." I think that was a Monday, so that's gonna be tomorrow. And I was like, "Okay, cool, thank you." And then since this day, now I know, it was that
Tuesday.
Tuesday, yeah. That day made me memorize every day of the week. It was crazy. It was like,
How do you say Tuesday in Portuguese?
Terça.
Terça. Oh, it's kind of like now I see it's even more confusing because it sounds like a combination of Thursday and Tuesday.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. That was the thing.
It was super. Oh wow, in Portuguese it's even more confusing, and like in Spanish it's super simple because it's like in English it's confusing, but in Spanish it's martes, which is really easy. Martes, Tuesday. Martes is Tuesday, and then jueves is Thursday. So there's like a big difference in Spanish, but in Brazil, in Portuguese, it's like
but Thursday is quinta.
Quinta.
So it's
I can see. Oh yes, definitely confusing. So you got that job at Domino's, and what was that the best job? Is that were you happy because you got the interview, or were you happy because you were working there at Domino's?
No, I was happy because I was able to get a job without speaking English.
Oh, right, just like driving and.
Yeah, I was delivering pizzas, and I was making. You make good money here, right? You make good money regardless of the job that you get.
Right,
you know what I mean? So
yeah,
I could pay my bills. I could make ends meet working as a delivery driver. It was my first job with a contract signed, you know?
Yeah,
like, you've got a job now.
Yeah.
It wasn't a full-time job or anything like that. It was even casual. But it wasn't a company, a reliable company, let's say.
Yeah, I got you.
Before that, I was, you know, as I said, I was mowing the lawn. I was doing whatever, man. I was doing dishes. I was cleaning toilets. I was doing whatever whatever popped up. I was doing it.
Trying to pay the rent. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's why it was the happiest day of my life.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, dude, now I've got something like, I've got a job.
Yeah. For sure. So go ahead.
It's just the little things that make you happy, you know, like in life. It's those things, your accomplishments, and they might sound, you know, like they might sound very a very small thing, very little, you know, but it's just you going through to make you understand. You got to go through those things, those challenges to understand how things work. You know what I mean?
No, for sure. Yeah, it's my when I first got here to the United States, I already knew a little bit of English. I arrived to the airport in Miami, and my mom told me, "Go get me some quarters." But of course, I have to speak English to do that. And so my mom gives me $1, a bill. And then, so I grab it and I start walking towards the cashier. It was like a cashier, big sign in the middle of the airport. So I start walking. And as I'm walking towards the cashier, my hands start sweating. I start practicing in my mind, like what I'm going to say exactly. I start repeating it. This is what I need to say. This is how I need to say it. This is how fast I need to say it. And so, so I'm literally trembling. And I go up to the cashier, there's this like black polarized window and just like a little thing where you put in the money, right? You put in the money and I say, I need quarters. And I start sweating. I go to, and then literally 10 seconds later, I see 4 quarters, like the coins show up. And I was like, thank God it worked. So that's probably the closest it gets to having that realization, being in a new country. And that's like the first English words that I ever said here. I need quarters. But the little things. The little things, yeah. I think confidence, as soon as you start building up the confidence to approach people and talking to them, that's when you start improving as well. You know, that's one thing that I always advise people. You gotta put yourself in uncomfortable situations. You know what I mean? Otherwise you're not gonna grow. You're not gonna learn. I remember I had to do a pitch to, let's say, 50 people here in Australia. Yeah,
there was a it's called Startup Weekend on the Gold Coast, and I had to do a pitch on a product to 50 people, and that was I think my second year in Australia. I was just trying to put myself in situations where I would be able to learn something new. And then I signed up for this weekend startup, and I had to pitch a product to like pitch 50 people as a product. And then after that, we would form groups and spend the weekend trying to sell that product, you know, trying to create that product.
Got it.
And I remember these days, you know, things that you never forget. That weekend was one of those, because you had to be interviewed in the camera, and I was sweating, man. I was sweating. My heart just like racing. Yeah. And I have videos. I have the videos, and I can't even watch it. I get so embarrassed. Oh,
that's hilarious.
It was just like, So ugly, and I got so embarrassed of watching it.
She put that on YouTube, man, reacting to my first sales pitch.
I will one day. I will.
Bro, that would be epic. That's hilarious. So how did you get that engineering job? After the pizza gig, what happened?
After that, I worked in a lot of restaurants, and I did a variety of different jobs.
Mm-hmm.
One day, do you know GYG? Guzman and Gomez?
GYG?
There was like a Mexican restaurant.
GYG? No, I don't know. I don't.
Guzman and Gomez. It's a Mexican restaurant. I was working for this Mexican restaurant,
mm-hmm.
and I was here in Australia already. I had maybe 3 years, 3 years, I think.
Yeah.
And everybody in this Mexican restaurant, you were speaking Spanish, right? You would like that.
Yeah, I'll blend in. I'll blend right in. Yeah.
You would blend in very well. Yeah. And I was the only Brazilian. There was another Brazilian, but she wouldn't work the same time as I would.
Yeah.
And then everybody just speaking Spanish and reggaeton, like reggaeton every time. And I was the guy just flipping the chicken and flipping the meat. And the speakers were just on my face, and
yeah.
there was slowly just, destroying my patience and everything. And then one day I got home, I was so pissed off. That I got home, I took a shower, and I sent like maybe 30 emails with my resume to different engineering companies. Just
like that, just suddenly?
Just like that, all of a sudden. I promised myself, I said, I'm just going to go back to engineering now because I don't want to work in hospitality jobs anymore.
At that point, you already spoke English decently. Like you already good.
Yeah, 3 years in Australia.
Oh, okay.
It was right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm still learning nowadays, but
dude, same. Yeah. I've been here 12 years. I've been here 15 years, and I still ask my wife, "What does this mean again? Like, what does this mean?" And it's funny because people think sometimes that I speak English like 100%, and sometimes some words that I say come out wrong. And they look at me, right. But I don't. Sometimes I'm just like, whatever. I just get over it. Like I just change the subject. Anyway, sorry. So you sent these applications, and then what happened?
Yeah, exactly. I sent several applications. I think that was on Sunday, so I wasn't expecting anything really soon. But in the next morning, on a Monday, I got up early, printed out all my like I printed maybe 10, 20 resumes, everything that I sent to the companies, and then I went to these companies that I emailed them. I knocked on their door and said, can I speak to the manager? I sent an email yesterday to you guys. I just want to make sure you received my email. And I also would like to hand out my resume and have a chat with you, have a coffee with you if possible, so I can, discuss a possible position, working for you guys. And I did that, man. I did that like with maybe 6 or 7 companies, the same companies that I sent the email, right? I went there. And in my third company, I got an interview, not an interview, a trial. I got a trial. I talked to the engineer and to the manager, and they said, well, come here next week for a trial. You stay with us, for 2 days. Just to see what we do and see if you like and see if you can, if we like you as well.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And I did that. I did 2 days trial, and it was awesome. Like the team was great, just young people, like my age, and they're funny and they're smart. And after 2 days, they called me. They said, look, if you wanna come start working with us, yeah, we're keen to get you into the team.
Dude, that's so dope. Nice.
I screamed so loud. I was like, yeah, because it was my first, real job. And
right.
That was the beginning of my career, and man, it was like I was stoked. I was stoked.
Wow, that's a crazy story, man. Like how not only, of course, going from the hospitality jobs and dishwashing and delivering pizzas, like how humbling did it have to be, you having an engineering degree, having to do all those jobs for 3 years, and then just starting over, getting your feet, learning the language, getting to know people. And then it took, you got to be thankful to that Mexican guy playing reggaeton on top of you, pushing you over the edge. You should go back and do it. I'm going to buy you a meal with my engineering salary. Come here. Let's have a it's that guy that pushed you over the edge. Yeah. It's like, I'm out.
Nowadays, I love reggaeton. I love the Mexican food as well.
Oh shit!
You know, it was just a phase of my life.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
Dude, but not only that, the other thing I wanted to add is like how you had the courage to not just email them. You didn't just email the people and sat back and said, "I just hope they call me." You went and then you knocked on their door, because I think that what year was this?
There was maybe 2018.
Dude, so recently, just like a couple of years ago. So it's because nowadays majority of people just think, hey, I'm just gonna send an email and apply that way, and then they complain because they can't get jobs. But to corroborate what you're saying, that what you do still works even here, because a little while ago I was reading the story of this engineering recruiter. But he wasn't always an engineering recruiter. When he was a student, he had very low grades. He was horrible. And one day he said, I need to get experience. I need to get jobs. So he went to the companies and knocked on the doors. He looked for a local company to where he lived. And then he drove there, knocked on the door and said, hey, I'm an intern. I would like to have a job. I know this is what you're looking for. This is my resume. I want to help. And luckily, the engineer who he was talking to said, you know what? I like your approach. I like that you come here and I like that you want to talk to us. And so he got lucky and he got an opportunity. Well, he got lucky because he looked for his opportunity, so, but man, so it still works. So for anybody out there that says, hey, I can't get a job, not only do you have to apply, but just go to your local companies, just knock on the door and see what happens. Just, find other ways that not other people are taking advantage of. So how did you like that job?
That job was perfect because it was my first job. It was with something that I wanted to work with.
Yeah.
Which was structural engineering. The team of engineers, they're very passionate, and they're also willing to mentor, because I didn't, man, like after what, 3-4 years out of the profession and with no experience, I didn't know much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was really lucky that they had the patience to mentor me and walk me through the design process and everything. And I'm still friend with a lot of them. I moved companies, but I still talk to them, still friend of most of them, It was a great experience. I think unforgettable. We used to work designing from very little house extensions to high-end houses and medium-rise apartment buildings. So it was a very dynamic, and we had a huge variety of projects. I had the chance to design like a skate park, like a playground.
Dude, that's so dope.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah.
In the next week, you would design like a house. And then in the other week, you would design a apartment building. You know what I mean? Like different things that challenge you every time. I think that's what makes a good company to work at.
The variety.
It's just the variety. Exactly. Yeah. I loved it. It was a great experience.
Nice, man. So I do have honestly, your story is really amazing. Like I have a lot of questions, but I know that I said it's going to take about an hour. It's up to you. If you have a hard cut, a hard out, let me know. Do you have to leave or?
Oh, it's okay.
Oh, okay.
No, good, man. It's Saturday.
Oh, okay. Because I was wondering, did you have to validate your degree when you went from Brazil to Australia, or was that part of so did you have to do that at all? Or how did you use your degree from Brazil to Australia? How do you transfer that knowledge?
If you want to get a job in Australia as an engineer,
yeah,
you don't really need to validate your diploma. You can just go to a company, tell them, look, I'm an engineer. I can do that. If you can do what you're saying, if you can design things
right,
for a real
right.
engineer,
yeah.
obviously,
yeah.
You don't need to validate your diploma. But the thing is, some companies, they like to have a Engineers Australia validation of your diploma, because let's suppose I come from Brazil, right? They don't know what's going on in Brazil and what the universities teach in Brazil, what sort of background I have. So it's very important. So that's one thing that the companies look for, They look, well, okay, so if the Engineers Australia approved his bachelor's degree, that's fine. I'm happy with that. So it's something I advise. If you wanna move to Australia, I would advise you to get your bachelor's degree validated with the Engineers Australia. But it's not essential, you know what I mean? Now, if you wanna be the technical responsible for the project, let's say you want to sign off on the project, you have to be a registered professional.
Professional.
So yeah, exactly. So you got to go through the Engineers Australia process, and the process is basically you have to prove them why you are an engineer. Okay, so let's suppose you graduated in mechanical engineering, and you want to validate you graduated in mechanical engineering in Peru, and you want to validate your diploma in Australia. So you got to prove to that organization why you are a mechanical engineer. So what you're going to do, you're going to write 3 episodes of your career, so I worked as a mechanical engineer in this company, and those were the challenges that I faced, and this is how I resolved these problems. And then you write something about that. If you don't need to have work experience, you can just write something about university. You can
got it.
You can just go back to a subject that you study at university and tell them, look, I'm a mechanical engineer because I know how to design this boat because I had steel design at this subject at university, and that's how I did. You write something. And obviously, you got to translate your transcript. You got to translate your resume and everything. All the documentation, the paperwork needs to be sent to them as well. You don't have to, but it's a good idea.
Right.
To validate. Yeah.
That makes sense. So, when it comes to structural engineering, have you ever worked with mechanical engineers? Like in your field, what kind of do you just deal with civil engineers or structural, or have you dealt with others that are kind of like, oh, I'm mechanical, but I'm here?
Yeah, no. We as structural engineers, you gotta liaise with a variety of professionals, right? So if you're designing a building, you gotta talk to architects, you gotta talk to developers, you gotta talk to builders. And you got to talk to mechanical engineers as well. You got to talk to electrical engineers. You got to talk to hydraulic engineers. So communication is very important. That's another point that an engineer, that's another feature that any engineer has to have really have a really solid communication skills.
Yeah.
To be an engineer. But yeah, you got to talk to a variety of people in your job. When I was talking to a high school students these days, and he was asking me what a structural engineer does.
Yeah.
And then I explained that to him doing a human body analogy. You know, and then you've got the architect. The architect's gonna choose the hair color, the eyes color, the skin color, you know, how tall your body is gonna be. And then you've got the structural engineer who's gonna design your skeleton. He's gonna design the structure that's gonna keep your body up straight, you know, and you're gonna design the skeleton to withstand any lateral loads, you know, like any wind or any forces and self-weight dead loads that can impart on the body. So that's pretty much what the structural engineers do, but you compare that to the buildings. And then going beyond that, you know, you've got your cardiovascular system, you've got your brain synapses, you've got your arteries, you've got your veins. That's when the mechanical engineers, the electrical engineers, they all come into place, you know. So you've got this symbiosis among the engineers, you know what I mean, when you're designing a structure. So going back to your question, yeah, you do have to talk to mechanical engineers, and you have to talk to several other stakeholders.
Gotcha. No, that's a really good analogy. The reason I was asking that is because so let me ask you this another way. Have you seen mechanical engineers do structural engineer work? Have you ever seen that or no? I'm curious.
Yeah.
Oh, you have?
Yeah. No, not. It depends. Mechanical engineers. I'm not a mechanical engineer, so if I'm saying something wrong, you can correct me. But if you study mechanical engineering, you know how to design with steel, right? You know how to design bolts, steel beams, columns, steel columns. So what I see mechanical engineers doing that we structural engineers do is mostly related to warehouses, you know, steel sheds, big sheds. That's what I see. That's what I see mechanical engineers doing as a job that we structural engineers do a lot as well.
Gotcha.
But look, they are qualified to do that.
Right.
You know, if you wanna, you can design a warehouse if you want, because you studied that at university. But when it comes to concrete, reinforced concrete, I don't think you guys have.
We didn't. You kind of have the high level explanation on why concrete is good in compression but not good in tension. So you kind of have that, and that's pretty much all I remember, because you have to take statics, dynamics, and then deformable bodies. Those are the three basic engineering and science mechanics, or something like that. So that's where I learned all the basic steel and all the like buckling and trusses and all this stuff that you're referring to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I was asking because I don't know if you've seen this other guy, this dude, what's his name? Mike Picardo, I think that's his name. He's a civil engineer in California, but he's also a structural engineer. And he put out some videos on the structural engineering and stuff like that. And he went over his transcript in the university, and there were a couple of mechanical engineering classes in it. That's why I got curious. I was like, oh, have you ever seen mechanical engineers do a structural engineer work? But what you said makes complete sense. Like some parts, yes, but not other more advanced, complicated stuff like for the structural engineers, when it's like really niche, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've got some mechanical engineers friends in Brazil, and they are specialized in steel design. Mm-hmm. Most of their works is designing big warehouse. But when it comes to the footings, for example, you know, they design the whole superstructure. But when it gets to the footings, you need concrete. You need a bit of geotechnical knowledge. Geotechnical knowledge. Then they would get, they would outsource that part.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you gotta work together. Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you see yourself doing geotechnical? How are you going to prepare for your license? Is that something like say you want to do your own business in the long run? Do you have to work under? Are you working under a registered professional right now?
Yeah. My boss, the director of the company, he is an RPQ, so he's a registered professional engineer. And the way you get the RPQ is you've got to have a number of years being supervised by an RPQ and having experience in the field as well.
Right.
And you gotta gather a lot of points as well, you know, doing courses, and there's a lot of things that you can do along along your journey to get to your certification. That's pretty much it. I'm really close to that. That's good. Just about time. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Here to get in the United States to get a professional engineering license, you need 4 years of experience under working for a professional engineer, and then you also need to take the fundamentals of engineering exam, which is kind of like a certification that gets you ready for
the PE.
For the PE, yeah. So you graduate. You need 4 years of experience under PE. You need a fundamentals of engineering exam, FE, or EIT, the engineering in training they call it, and then you have to take that, and you have to take the professional engineering license exam. So you need 2 exams and 4 years of experience under a PE, basically. If you have a master's, you only need 3 years of experience. If you don't have one, it's 4. But yeah, that's what the basic requirements here in the United States.
To be honest, I think that's the correct way. You know, like that's perfect. The way, you know, the way America and Australia do, I think that's the way we should do in every other country, because in Brazil, as soon as you graduate, you can sign off on any project. You know, so a graduate engineer, like someone that just left university, can sign off on a, you know, like on a building, and without any
experience or supervision,
experience or nothing. Yeah, you just need to get your certification in Brazil, and you can get that certification. It doesn't require years of experience or being mentored by a registered professional. You know what I mean? And that's something that could be very dangerous.
Yeah.
I don't think it changed anything in Brazil, because I've been away from 6 years, but that was pretty much what happened there. And you know,
have there?
Yeah, you gotta be a bit cautious.
As far as you know, have there been issues with the structure, like structural catastrophes? And I haven't heard of any from Brazil, or you hear those on Haiti.
Yeah, I mean, if you look up online, you'll find them. You will find them. Yeah, it's not something that, you know, it's going to be on the BBC News.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. But unless it's a major thing, you know, that kills.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, because if they haven't changed the requirements, they might be doing all right. You know, they're like, okay, yeah. Because just because they can, it doesn't mean they do.
Like that's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Yeah,
it's
true.
Like you let the 40, 50-year-old engineer, it's like, I know that you can do it, but no, we're not letting you do that. let the other guy do
it. Yeah.
Oh boy.
But you know, if you have the option, you know what I mean? Like you open space for errors, for mistakes.
For sure. Yeah.
It's better to, you know, cut that off in the beginning than wait for someone to make that mistake. And when it comes to engineering, a mistake could cost lives.
Exactly. Yeah. Especially with the structural, and civil, and for sure. So one last question that I had was, what would you advise to a young engineer that is just graduating university? You're being in the industry for a couple of years now. If you were just graduating, what do you think? What do you wish you would have known just graduating university?
Yeah, so always when I try to advise someone, I look back on my own experience,
right?
And I see what I would have changed, what I would have done differently. And one thing that really stands out is confidence. Working on your confidence. That's something that I'm talking that because I was also an international student, you know, and confidence is really hard when you are in a different country, you know, where you don't speak your language. But anyway, when you have confidence, you can win the client. When you have confidence, you can get your job. You can get your first job. Builders will listen to you if you demonstrate confidence. So that's essential. That's pivotal. You gotta be a confident person. And the way you get confidence is being prepared. You know the saying, luck is when preparation meets opportunity.
Yeah.
You gotta be prepared. You gotta be prepared. If you're prepared, you're gonna be confident. And that's the I think one of the most important advice that I tell to fresh engineers. You gotta prepare yourself in order to when you get the opportunity, you're gonna be confident enough to get it. You know what I mean? So let's suppose you're a mechanical engineer and you're going for a job interview to work with SolidWorks, right? That's the software you guys use a lot. SolidWorks. So you do your homework, right? You do your homework and you're gonna train SolidWorks. You go, you get home and then you have a look at the software. You design something. You maybe try to design some product that the company develops. And then you're not gonna be an expert, but in your mind, you're gonna be a little bit prepared, right? That's gonna give you enough confidence to do well in that job interview, because you're gonna get to the interviewer and demonstrate that you actually know what they do in that company, because you know SolidWorks and they need SolidWorks, so you are prepared. So if I feel prepared, I'll be confident in the interview, and very likely I'll get the job. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
That works for anything in life, I think. So confidence is key for everything that you're doing. And to get confident, you gotta get prepared. You gotta work on it. No one is born confident, right? No one is born good on anything. You prepare yourself. You work hard to get that.
100%. Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what I try to advise young people. Look, you want to get there, you're gonna have to study. Not study because you're gonna understand the technical terms or technical aspects of the job, but because it's gonna give you a peace of mind. It's gonna give you enough confidence. That's the thing. When you know what you're talking about, you can tell when someone knows what they're talking about, right? Sometimes I'm talking to a builder and they know that I know what I'm saying, because I designed that. So I know what I know what should be in there and what shouldn't be in that. And they're going to listen to me because I'm confident enough.
Right. That is such a really good point. When you know what you're talking about, you're less hesitant. You're more straight edge. You're more cutthroat per se. And I know that I've been in situations where sometimes I'm stretching myself a little like farther than my knowledge. So that's when you start really thinking. You start looking away. And you really start thinking, putting it together. You're figuring it out as you go, which is not always bad, because you really are thinking about it. But when you already know it, like when you know it, like the palm of your hand, you don't have to think about it. You go, boom, so, and that's definitely something I've noticed with a lot of expert engineers with a ton of experience, something that I've experienced myself. When you start getting familiar with your work, you know what you're doing. You already know who to talk to, how to contact, how to do things. You are definitely more prepared, like you say, and then you know what you're talking about, what you're doing. So that's definitely great advice. It's funny because I did make a video about confidence today.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I made a video about confidence. But hey, man, it's been a great conversation. I really, really love knowing your story and all the pizza jobs and getting that engineering job.